Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Boldin, a fintech company that made the 2025 Incorporated 5,000 list by doing something most financial startups don't. They built their growth strategy around trust instead of ad spend. Now, my name is Ethan McCory, and in this project, I was partnered with Will Brockbank, Cooper Goff, Lincoln Smith, and Andrew Knowles to provide a high detailed breakdown of the growth here at Boldin. Now, to begin, what is Boldin? Well, it was founded in 2015 underneath the name New Retirement and recently rebranded. At its core, it's a financial planning SaaS platform, meaning it's software people pay a subscription for help to plan out their retirement. The key things to understand is who they're selling to. Their core customer is the DIY investor, someone aged 35 to 65 years old who has some financial knowledge, some savings, and wants professional grade planning tools without having to pay for a human financial advisor. That's a really important positioning decision we'll come back to. They're not going after complete beginners and they're not going after the ultra wealthy. They're targeting the financially literate middle class, people who feel underserved by both basic online calculators and expensive advisory firms. In terms of scale, they've had over 450,000 retirement plans created on the platform. They're tracking more than $300 billion in user assets, and they've made the 2025 Incorporated 5,000 list, which is why they're studied here today. They're also actively integrating AI into their planning tools, which is a huge buzzword right now. It's really popular and it's a cool aspect that they're incorporating. And one more thing worth flagging, the rebrand from New Retirement to Boldin signals a deliberate shift in messaging from a narrow retirement tool to a broader financial empowerment brand. Now, let's get into why this applies to the business model canvas. Let's lay out the foundation because understanding how Boldin makes money is essential for understanding why their growth tactics actually worked. On the customer side, they operate in two lanes: business to consumer, individual DIY planners and pre retirees using the platform themselves, and then business to business. They have financial advisors, employers, and banks who license the tool for their customers, their clients, or their employees. Now, their value proposition is essentially professional grade retirement modeling at a fraction of what you'd pay a human advisor for. And unlike a basic calculator, it accounts for taxes, social security, multiple accounts, and complex financial scenarios. But how do they acquire customers? This is one of the coolest aspects of Bolden, and we'll break it down even further in the following slides. They use SEO, content marketing, their blog, social media, and white label integration with banks and employers. Now, revenue comes from three streams. They have a tiered SaaS subscription, their flagship being the Planner Plus, direct advisory fees, and enterprise licensing for their business to business clients. The key resources that gives them a competitive edge are their proprietary modeling algorithms, the massive user data they've accumulated, and brand credibility built over almost a decade. And critically, their cost structure is weighted towards tech development and customer acquisition, which is why their growth strategy focuses so heavily on organic, low-cost channels. They can't outspend Fidelity, they can't outspend Schwab on ads, so they have to be smarter about how they grow. So let's get into this first growth driver. Now, this is one of Boldin's most interesting and underappreciated moves, their Facebook group. Back in 2018, early in the company's history, they created a Facebook group for their community. Today, that group has over 23,000 members, a mix of paying subscribers and people just researching retirement planning. Boldin employees are active in the group, answering questions, gathering feedback, and engaging directly with their users. CEO Steve Chen has pointed directly to the community as a key growth mechanism, saying the feedback loop has been invaluable to their growth. Now, why did this work? Well, there's a few reasons. First, retirement planning is a high trust, high complexity purchase. Before someone paying for a planning tool, they want to see that real people are using it, having real conversations about real scenarios. The Facebook group provides exactly that kind of peer evaluation. Second, the platform choice is brilliantly targeted. Boldin's audience, adults 35 to 65, over indexes heavily on Facebook compared to other social media platforms. This wasn't a trendy channel choice, it was the right channel for the right audience, as we've spoken about in class. Now, third, it functions as a free ongoing product research engine. User feedback in the group directly shape product development, which improves product market fit over time without Boldin paying for user research. Is this replaceable or replicable? Yes, but with major caveats. It works best for complex, trust dependent products, fintech, health tools, tax software. It requires a real long term investment and active team participants. And perhaps most importantly, this is a years long strategy. There are virtually no returns in the first few years. Most startups don't have patience for a Facebook group, but Bolden pushed through and really showed how powerful that can be. Now, growth driver number two is their freemium model. And I want to be clear that this isn't just a standard freemium play. Bolden's version of freemium is specifically engineered around trust and switching costs. Here's how it works. They give away genuinely sophisticated retirement planning tools for free, not a watered down teaser, actually useful tools. The free experience is good enough to be real. The moment a user starts using the platform, something powerful happens. They start inputting their personal financial data, their mortgage, their 401k, their savings, their expected social security benefits, and their income scenarios. Once you've done that, once your entire financial picture lives within Bolden, leaving means starting over. The switching cost isn't financial, it's psychological and it's practical. That's a moat that no competitor can buy. From there, Bolden moves users up the value chain. Free tier to Planner Plus subscriptions, Planner Plus to advisory services. Each step is a natural progression because the user is already invested in the platform. The evidence that this worked is in the numbers. 450,000 plus plans created, $300 billion in assets tracked, millions of annual users across their content ecosystem. That's not ad spend. That's compounding organic growth from a product people trust enough to input their most sensitive financial information. Absolutely nuts. It's harder than it looks. The model requires that your free tool is genuinely excellent, which means deep financial modeling expertise that most startups don't have. You can copy the freemium structure, but not the decade of algorithmic development behind it. Now let's get into number three, growth driver. Now, what I'd call Bolden's most underrated strategic move, embedded distribution. Instead of waiting for users to come find them, they place themselves inside ecosystems where trust already existed. Think about what this looks like in practice. An employee opens up their company's financial wellness portal, and Bolden is there. A doctor reading the White Coat Investor, a major financial blog for physicians, clicks through to Bolden. A financial advisor logs into their planning dashboard. Bolden's already integrated. They show up where financially literate, high intent people already are, with the credibility of the host platform already vouching for them. Why does this work? Well, there's three reasons. First, pre-qualified traffic. The people coming through these partner channels are already financially literate and they already think about retirement planning. The conversion rates are dramatically better than a cold traffic. Second, lower customer acquisition costs. Instead of paying for ads, they're generating ongoing organic traffic through partnerships that scale without proportional cost increases. And third, it feeds both sides of their business model simultaneously. Business to consumer, high quality individuals entering the freemium funnel, business to business, employer integrations, advisor ecosystems, and enterprise licensing. Now, this is hard, and the honest answer, you need years of credibility to land these partnerships. You need a product that integrates cleanly into other systems. You need a brand that establishes platforms are willing to put their name next to. But once you have it, it's extremely durable, and we see this directly through Bolden. But let's dive into their marketing channels. Now, Bolden uses six primary marketing channels, and they're not all equal. Number one, and most important, this is the one I find most interesting, SEO combined with content marketing. They publish extensively on retirement planning, tax strategy, 401k optimization, and they rank for high intent search keywords. When someone Googles, when can I retire? Or retirement calculator, Bolden is right there as the number one option. Number two, their free retirement calculator. This is the engine of their top of the funnel. It converts search traffic directly into product users. There's no landing page to click through to, no form to fill out before getting value. You search, you find the calculator, and you instantly start using it. Then you have their authority partnerships, White Coat Investor and similar platforms, social media, Facebook, well, I guess primarily Facebook for community, and YouTube for educational content, email marketing to keep existing users engaged, and Google search ads as a paid supplement. The key insight here is that channel one and two, SEO and the freemium model, don't just generate volume, they generate high intent volume. High intent users who find Boldin through a retirement specific Google search and are already in the decision making process. They're not browsing, they're planning. That fundamentally changes the economics of conversion. Now let's look at the acquisition funnel. It has 6 stages as well, and each one is carefully engineered. We have awareness, Google search, blog content, social media, and partner sites, multiple entry points, but all funneling towards the same destination. We have acquisition, the free retirement calculator. This is the hook. It's free, it's immediately useful, and it requires zero commitment to start. I think just about everyone in our group messed around with the retirement calculator just to see how it worked. And we have activation. This is the most critical moment. The user inputs their personal financial data and sees real projections for the first time. That's the aha moment, when abstract retirement planning becomes a concrete, personalized picture of their future. Now we have engagement, email updates, blog content, community participation. Users return to adjust their plan as their life changes. A new job, a home purchase, a raise, anything change, you could check out how it affects you within the Boldin. Now we have conversion. The user upgrades to Planner Plus or buys advisory services. By this point, they've already experienced the value and they've already invested their data into the platform. The decision to pay is almost a natural conclusion at this point. And then we have retention. High switching costs from personal data on platform combined with ongoing value of a long-term financial tracker. This isn't a tool you use once. It's a tool that grows with you. Now, slide 9, I really want to focus on the messaging and the positioning of Boldin. Their three core messages are plan your retirement with confidence, take control of your financial future, and simple, personalized retirement planning. On the surface, these seem generic, but look at what each one is actually doing. Now we have confidence. It's addressing anxiety. Retirement planning is one of the most stressful financial decisions most people make. Boldin's first move is to reduce the fear, not sell you the features. Take control is addressing the alternative, which is handling your financial future to an advisor who might not fully understand your situation. Boldin positions itself as a tool that puts the power back in your hands. Now it's simple, and this addresses complexity. Retirement planning is genuinely complicated. Boldin is saying, we've done the hard work so you don't have to. Their tone is consistently calm, educational, and reassuring. Never pushy, never salesy. That's a deliberate choice for an audience that is inherently skeptical of financial services. Now, their position can be summed up in one line: smarter than a calculator, cheaper than an advisor. They live in the gap between basic free tools that can't handle complexity and expensive human advisors that most people can't justify paying for. Now, this is where Boldin wins. To understand how sharp that to understand how sharp that positioning is, look at the competitive landscape. Personal Capital, now Empower, focuses on wealth tracking and pushes users towards their advisory services. The problem is it feels like a sales funnel. Users feel like they're being converted into a paying client, not empowered as a self-directed planner. Boldin wins on control and autonomy. Betterment is an automated investment platform. It's excellent at what it does, but it's not a retirement planning tool. It's an investment tool. It doesn't model the full complexity of retirement: Social Security timing, tax optimization, healthcare costs, withdrawal sequence. Boldin wins on breadth. Fidelity is a full service financial institution, incredible resources, but overwhelming. It's built for absolutely everything, which means it's optimized for absolutely nothing in particular. Boldin wins on focus and it wins on simplicity. Boldin's differentiation is threefold: highly focused value proposition on retirement planning specifically, reduces friction for a category that is traditionally high friction, and empowerment positioning. You control your plan, not an advisor that you're paying consistently. They also build trust signals in a category that is notoriously low on trust. User testimonials, data-driven projections, a clean user interface, and financial language that is credible without being intimidating. Now, why did this company win? Not generically, but specifically. First, they captured users at the peak moment of retirement intent. As we previously mentioned, their SEO strategy put them at the top of Google, exactly where users were already searching for retirement answers. They didn't interrupt people, they showed up when people were ready. That's why their conversion rates are so much stronger than typical display advertising. Second, they removed the two biggest barriers in financial services: cost and intimidation. The free tool eliminated the cost barrier. The calm, educational tone eliminated the emotional barrier. Users who would never walk into a financial advisor's office felt comfortable enough to build their financial plan on Boldin. Third, they borrowed trust instead of buying attention. They didn't outspend Fidelity. They didn't outspend Betterment on ads. They embedded themselves inside Facebook groups, employer programs, and respected financial media. They inherited the credibility of those channels rather than having to build it from scratch through advertising. Fourth, they engineered their product to become infrastructure. Once a user has their complete financial picture inside Bolden, their mortgage, 401k, social security projections, income scenarios, leaving means starting over from zero. The platform doesn't just retain users, it makes them feel like they're losing if they leave. The through line across all four of these the through line through all four of these acquisition tools and why they won is trust. Bolden didn't build a great marketing campaign. They built a product people trusted deeply enough to hand over their most sensitive financial information. Now let's look at the conclusion, or what I like to call the growth playbook. To wrap up, Bolden's growth playbook comes down to their three compounding levers: community trust through the Facebook group is a peer validation and a word of mouth engine, freemium stickiness through a free product that creates switching costs through a personal data investment platform, and embedded distribution through partnerships that borrow existing credibility to reduce acquisition costs.